So, David, thank you very much for joining us on our latest edition of our digital diaries. These are designed to ultimately help others in the industry who are starting out on that digital journey, learn from some people in the industry like yourselves who have already made some inroads. So we're really looking forward to hearing about what Housing 21 have been doing. So to start with, can you tell us where did your digital journey start?
I suppose back in 2016 is when we first embarked on the digital journey. It's been well received by residents and staff. I think they're very appreciative of the improved functionality, the reliability, I suppose the security aspect.
And what's the scale of the project that you're commencing on?
We've actually accelerated our digital program to ensure that every site that we have, which is circa 480, will be digitally enabled, have a digital solution by 2025.
I guess Housing 21 have been one of the leading light in that analog to digital shift, being one of the first organisations, if you date back to 2016, to make that move. What were the drivers behind leading that way?
I suppose there was an early recognition of the the ever-changing telecoms infrastructure going from an analog to a digital sort of environment. That was a big driver. We recognised we needed to improve the ensure a reliable service. And I suppose in addition, what it was at the time in terms of the analog equipment, it was quite dated and limited in its sort of functionality and appearance. So, there was a desire to move to a more contemporary, fit-for-purpose solution.
As the project has evolved, has the scope of what you're looking to achieve evolved as well?
There's future developments in place. We're working collaboratively to understand what the issues we experience are. But I suppose things that spring to mind, we've got the remote door entry system. That didn't exist in the early days. We've got two-way enabled Bluetooth speakers that are really useful, particularly for people that are bedbound or less mobile. We've improved tablets and improved sort of door entry systems. I suppose a big thing for us was the mirrored app launch.
Yeah.
And I suppose particularly during the pandemic that was of importance because it allowed that remote connection to site to enable court managers to interact with residents through the tablet, whereas obviously older systems that would have been unable to do that.
It's very interesting that you mentioned the pandemic because Housing 21 will be one of the few housing organisations to have digital telecare at scale at that point of the pandemic hitting that nobody obviously expected. Did those digital systems support Housing 21 and your residents and the ways that you work throughout that period?
Certainly. Particularly the mirrored app functionality of great benefit. I suppose that the sense of community within the schemes too was an added bonus because you've got the video flat-to-flat calling.
And how have your staff reacted to the new systems in place?
Very positively. In terms of the system that they would be, or the system they have when they receive a digital upgrade, functionality is highly improved. It's more efficient. Just the sort of things down to programming of a pendant. That's very slick. You've got the I'm OK button, which avoids it could be a 45-minute call around every morning to ask if a resident's okay. Whereas now that's all sort of done via the tablet to the court manager dashboard. And
for residents, how has that process gone in terms of education? How's it been received by residents as well?
Very well. I mean, it is a mix. There's a vast amount of residents that are very interested in the sort of developed technology in terms of that sort of social interaction, flat-to-flat calling, the sort of door entry panel where you can see someone that's at the door, the sort of preferable devices that are compatible. So I think for some residents it may take a longer time to sort of familiarise themselves with the system. Others are sort of more tech savvy. But I suppose we've produced literature that sort of tries to explain things quite simply to residents. We do consultations where we demonstrate the equipment. There's a host of videos available that they can watch. So we try to educate them as best we can, and it seems to be well received.
There must have been a lot of things that you've learned in the last 5 years that have changed from day one of your digital journey, challenges that you've kind of met along the way.
Understanding really what a digital end-to-end system is and what's important to you in terms of the product. I suppose it took a while for me to understand what digital end-to-end really meant. And there were a lot of systems talk about being digital, which they're a digital tablet on the wall. But I suppose particularly if you're looking to overcome simultaneous calls made from a site, whereby ordinarily the calls would be queued at the call centre. The analog lines don't have the capacity to sort of distribute sort of multiple calls at any one time. There's many systems out there that don't. In fact, I think Appello is still the only digital end-to-end solution, which is important to have in 21 because it does overcome the call queuing that's experienced on sites that we still have as analog systems.
So David, I'm going to wrap it up now because I think it's really useful conversation. There's some great insights there, which I'm sure will be really valuable to other organisations who are looking to start on their digital journey and who are maybe just a few sites in comparison to your over 100 sites now. So really appreciate your time and thanks for joining us on this Digital Diary session.
No worries. Thank you, Ian.
Cheers, David.